The Exiled Beast and the Unexpected Visitor. The crimson sun of Sinnoh 7 cast long shadows across the barren landscape, its dying light barely penetrating the thick, sulphurous atmosphere. Among the twisted rock formations and steaming geysers, a solitary figure moved with surprising grace. This was the Exiled One, a being of legend among the few spacefaring races that dared venture to this inhospitable world. Known simply as the Beast by those who spoke of it in hushed whispers, the creature was an imposing sight. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, its body was covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors with each movement. 6 limbs, each ending in wickedly sharp claws, propelled it effortlessly across the treacherous terrain. But it was the beast's eyes, all 4 of them, that truly captured its otherworldly nature. They glowed with an inner light, reflecting intelligence, sorrow, and a fierce determination to survive. For cycles beyond count, the beast had roamed this desolate world alone. Exiled for a crime it did not commit, it had long ago given up hope of ever seeing its homeworld again. The solitude had become a comfort, the harsh environment a familiar challenge. But all of that was about to change. High above the planet's turbulent atmosphere, a sleek vessel of human design dropped out of hyperspace. The CSS Horizon, Earth's most advanced long-range exploration ship, had arrived at Sinnoh 7 on a mission of scientific discovery. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the sensor readouts with a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Report, Dr. Chen," she ordered, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Dr. Lian Chen, the mission's lead xenobiologist, looked up from his console with undisguised enthusiasm. "It's incredible, Captain. The planet's ecosystem is unlike anything we've ever encountered. The atmospheric composition alone could revolutionize our understanding of habitable worlds." Rodriguez nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "Looks like we came to the right place. Prepare a landing party. I want boots on the ground within the hour." As the crew bustled with activity, preparing for their first foray onto the alien world, none of them could have anticipated the true nature of what awaited them below. The landing shuttle pierced through layers of corrosive clouds, its advanced shielding systems straining against the harsh environment. On board, Dr. Zara Patel, the team's youngest and most brilliant exobiology researcher, could barely contain her excitement. At just 28 years old, she had already made a name for herself in the scientific community with her groundbreaking theories on extreme adaptations in alien life forms. "This is it," she whispered to herself, gripping the edges of her seat as the shuttle touched down on a relatively stable patch of ground. "Everything I've worked for, all in one place." The landing party, consisting of Zara and 4 other scientists, along with a security detail, exited the shuttle with cautious enthusiasm. Their environmental suits, the most advanced ever developed, allowed them to move freely in the toxic atmosphere while providing real-time data on their surroundings. As they began to set up a temporary research station, Zara found herself drawn to a peculiar rock formation in the distance. Something about its shape seemed almost deliberate. "I'm going to check out that outcropping," she announced over the comlink. "It could be evidence of geological processes we've never seen before." "Be careful, Dr. Patel," the security chief's gruff voice replied. "And don't stray too far. We don't know what's out there." Zara acknowledged the warning but was already making her way towards the formation. As she approached, her suit's sensors began to pick up anomalous readings. Energy signatures that didn't match anything in their database pulsed faintly from within the rocks. Fascinated, she reached out to touch the strange, smooth surface. It was cool to the touch, despite the sweltering heat around them. And then, without warning, the ground beneath her feet gave way. Zara's scream echoed through the comlink as she plummeted into darkness. The other team members rushed to her last known position, but by the time they arrived, there was no sign of the young scientist. It was as if the planet itself had swallowed her whole. Deep below the surface, in a network of caverns unknown to any living being save one, Zara regained consciousness. Her suit had protected her from the worst of the fall, but a steady stream of warnings flashed across her helmet's display. She was injured, disoriented, and completely cut off from her team. As she struggled to her feet, a low, resonant sound filled the cavern. It was unlike anything she had ever heard before, part growl, part song, and entirely alien, and it was getting closer. From the shadows emerged a figure that defied description. The beast, drawn by the unfamiliar disturbance in its domain, regarded the small human with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. For the first time in countless cycles, it faced a being from beyond its prison world. Zara, her scientific mind racing even in the face of potential danger, realized she was looking at something extraordinary. This was no mindless creature, no simple predator. The intelligence in those glowing eyes was unmistakable. "Hello," she said, her voice shaking only slightly as she raised her hands in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I mean you no harm." The beast tilted its head, studying her with an intensity that seemed to pierce through her suit and into her very being. Then, to Zara's utter astonishment, it responded, not in words, but in a series of complex gestures and expressions that conveyed meaning as clearly as any spoken language. In that moment, as human and alien began their first tentative communication, neither could have imagined the journey that lay ahead. A journey that would challenge the very foundations of both their worlds and redefine the meaning of humanity in the face of the universe's infinite diversity. As the sulphurous winds howled across the surface of Exiled 7, carrying the concerned shouts of Zara's teammates, a new chapter in the story of two species was about to unfold. The exiled one, long resigned to solitude, felt a spark of something long forgotten, hope, and Zara, her scientific curiosity overpowering her fear, prepared to embark on the most important expedition of her life, one that would take her not across the stars, but into the depths of an alien mind and heart. The beast and the human regarded each other in the dim light of the cavern, each a mystery to the other, yet bound by a shared moment of discovery that would echo across the cosmos. Unraveling the beast's past, the cavern's eerie silence was broken only by the soft hum of Zora's environmental suit and the measured breathing of the beast. As the initial shock of their encounter wore off, Zora's scientific training kicked in. She began to observe, analyze, and most importantly, communicate. "I'm Dr. Zora Patel," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I'm a scientist from Earth. We came here to study your world." The beast tilted its head, those luminous eyes blinking in a mesmerizing pattern. Its response came not in words, but in a series of gestures and facial expressions so nuanced that Zara found herself instinctively understanding their meaning. You're not from here either, are you?" Zara asked, realization dawning. "This isn't your home world." The beast's shoulders slumped, a universal sign of sadness that transcended species. It began to move, its 6 limbs carrying it with fluid grace to a section of the cavern wall. There, etched into the rock face, were intricate drawings that told a story of betrayal and exile. Zara approached cautiously, her suit's lights illuminating the primitive yet evocative artwork. "You're trying to show me your past," she murmured, more to herself than to the beast. "Let me see if I can understand." The first series of images depicted a world of breathtaking beauty, floating cities among the clouds, creatures of impossible grace soaring through prismatic skies. The beast, or a being very much like it, stood proudly among others of its kind. "Your home," Zara said softly. "It must have been beautiful." The beast nodded, a gesture so human-like that Zara felt a pang of empathy. But the story on the wall took a dark turn. The next set of images showed conflict, betrayal, and ultimately, exile. The beast, alone, confused and angry, was cast out, sent hurtling through the void to land on this desolate world. "You were framed," Zara realized, her voice filled with indignation. They blamed you for something you didn't do and sent you here as punishment. But why? What could you possibly have done to deserve this? The beast's response was a complex series of movements, its limbs weaving patterns in the air that seemed to shimmer with meaning. Zara's translator worked overtime, trying to decipher the alien language, but it was her own intuition that provided the most insight. Politics, she said, the word bitter on her tongue. You discovered something, didn't you? Something that threatened those in power. The beast's eyes flashed with an intensity that confirmed her suspicion. It moved to another section of the wall, revealing drawings of strange, crystalline structures and swirling energy patterns. Zara's scientific mind raced with possibilities. Energy, she breathed. You found a new source of energy, something revolutionary, and instead of embracing it, they feared it. And you. As the beast continued its silent narrative, Zara felt a growing sense of outrage on behalf of this extraordinary being. Here was a creature of remarkable intelligence and sensitivity, cast out and left to rot on a hostile world, all because it dared to challenge the status quo. How long? She asked, dreading the answer. How long have you been here alone? The beast's response was a series of marks on the cavern floor, each one representing a full rotation of Exiled 7 around its dying sun. Zara did some quick mental calculations and gasped. Centuries, she whispered. You've been here for centuries. The weight of that solitude, that unending exile, hit Zara like a physical force. She found herself reaching out, her gloved hand hovering just inches from the beast's iridescent scales. I'm so sorry, she said, her voice thick with emotion. No one deserves that. No one. The beast regarded her with those luminous eyes, and in them, Zara saw a flicker of something she hadn't expected, hope. For the first time in countless cycles, the exiled one was no longer alone. But their moment of connection was shattered by a sudden tremor that shook the cavern. Dust and small rocks rained down from above, and a distant roar echoed through the tunnels. What was that? Zara asked, alarm evident in her voice. The beast's reaction was immediate and urgent. It gestured frantically towards a tunnel leading deeper into the planet's crust, its meaning clear. Danger was coming, and they needed to move. As they hurried through the winding passages, Zara's mind raced with questions. What had caused that tremor? Was it natural, or was there something else on this planet? Something that even the beast feared? They emerged into a vast underground chamber, and Zara's breath caught in her throat. Before them sprawled an alien vista of crystalline formations and pulsing energy fields, a hidden world beneath the desolate surface of Exiled 7. It's beautiful, Zara whispered, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. Is this what you discovered? Is this why they exiled you? The beast's affirmative gesture was tinged with sadness and a hint of pride. It moved towards one of the larger crystal formations, its claws delicately tracing patterns on its surface. The crystal began to glow, projecting holographic images into the air around them. Zara watched in awe as the history of the beast's people unfolded before her eyes. She saw a civilization of incredible advancement, capable of harnessing energies beyond human comprehension. But she also saw the seeds of their downfall: greed, fear, and a stubborn resistance to change. You wanted to share this with everyone, Zara realized. This energy, this knowledge, it could have transformed your entire society. But they weren't ready for it, were they? The beast's mournful expression was all the answer she needed. Zara felt a surge of determination. This incredible being had suffered alone for far too long. It was time for that to change. Listen, she said, her voice filled with conviction. I don't know exactly how, but I'm going to help you. We'll find a way to clear your name, to show your people the truth. You don't have to be alone anymore. The beast regarded her with a mixture of hope and skepticism. It had been betrayed before, after all. But there was something about this small, fragile human that sparked a long-dormant feeling in its ancient heart. Trust. Their silent communion was interrupted by another tremor, stronger this time. The crystal formations around them began to pulse erratically, and a deep, ominous rumble filled the chamber. "We need to get out of here," Zara said urgently. "Something's wrong. Very wrong." As they turned to flee, a section of the cavern wall exploded inward. Through the dust and debris emerged a nightmarish creature, all teeth, claws, and primal hunger. It was easily twice the size of the beast, its eyes glowing with malevolent intelligence. Zara's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. The beast wasn't the only exile on this world, and some were far less friendly. The beast moved with lightning speed, positioning itself between Zara and the new threat. As the two alien beings faced off, Zara knew that her mission had just become far more complicated and far more dangerous. The fate of not just the beast, but potentially two civilizations, now hung in the balance. And somewhere far above, on the desolate surface of HFY 7, Zara's teammates continued their frantic search, unaware of the incredible drama unfolding beneath their feet. As the chamber filled with the echoes of an otherworldly battle, Zara steeled herself for what was to come. She had come to this planet seeking scientific discovery. Instead, she had found a cause worth fighting for, and perhaps the key to reshaping the future of interstellar relations forever. The beast let out a defiant roar, its form silhouetted against the pulsing crystals, and Zara knew that her life would never be the same again. The true adventure was just beginning. The alliance forged in adversity. The clash between the beast and the nightmarish creature shook the cavern to its very foundations. Zara, her heart pounding, watched in awe as the two alien beings engaged in a battle that defied human comprehension. The beast moved with a grace that belied its size, its 6 limbs working in perfect harmony to fend off the larger attacker. But it was clear that the beast was outmatched. Years of isolation had taken their toll, and its opponent was driven by a primal hunger that lent it terrible strength. Zara knew she couldn't just stand by and watch. Her mind raced, analyzing the situation with the cold logic of a scientist, combined with the resourcefulness that had made humanity a force to be reckoned with among the stars. "The crystals," she muttered, her eyes darting to the pulsing formations around them. "They're not just energy sources. They're alive." Acting on instinct, Zara rushed to the nearest crystal cluster. Her gloved hands danced over the surface, mimicking the patterns she had seen the beast use earlier. To her amazement, the crystal responded, its glow intensifying. "Hey," she shouted, her voice amplified by her suit's speakers. "Over here, you overgrown lizard." The monstrous creature turned, momentarily distracted from its battle with the beast. It was all the opening Zara needed. With a final, desperate gesture, she commanded the crystal to release its energy. A blinding flash filled the cavern, followed by a shockwave that sent both alien beings tumbling. Zara was thrown back, her suit's emergency systems kicking in to cushion her fall. When the dust settled, the nightmarish creature lay still, stunned by the unexpected assault. The beast, battered but alive, looked at Zara with newfound respect and gratitude. "Are you okay?" Zara asked, stumbling to her feet. The beast nodded, then gestured urgently towards one of the tunnels. The message was clear. They needed to leave before their adversary recovered. As they fled deeper into the planet's crust, Zara's mind was awhirl with questions and realizations. "Those creatures," she panted as they ran. "They're why you stayed near the surface all these years, aren't they? You've been protecting yourself, and maybe even the planet, from them." The beast's affirmative gesture was tinged with weariness. Zara felt a surge of admiration for this noble being, exiled and alone yet still standing guard against a threat it could have easily ignored. They emerged into another chamber, smaller but no less wondrous than the last. Here, the crystals formed intricate patterns that Zara recognized as a primitive but powerful computer system. "This is incredible," she breathed, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. "You've been studying them, haven't you? Learning their secrets?" The beast moved to a central console, its claws dancing over the crystalline surface. Images sprang to life in the air around them. Diagrams, equations, and concepts that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. Zara's eyes widened as she began to grasp the implications. "This isn't just about energy," she said, her voice filled with awe. This is the key to manipulating the fabric of space-time itself. With this knowledge, faster than light travel would be just the beginning. We could reshape planets, harness the power of stars. The beast's expression was solemn, its gestures conveying a clear warning. Such power, in the wrong hands, could bring untold destruction. "That's why they exiled you," Zara realized. "You wanted to share this knowledge, to use it for the good of all. But they were afraid of change, afraid of losing control." Their moment of understanding was interrupted by a distant roar. Their pursuer had recovered and was on the hunt. "We need to get out of here," Zara said urgently. "We need to get back to my team, to my ship. We can come back for this knowledge later. But right now, we need to focus on survival." The beast hesitated, looking around at the work of centuries with obvious reluctance. "I promise," Zara said, placing a hand on the beast's arm. "I promise we'll come back. We'll find a way to share this with both our peoples, the right way. But we can't do that if we don't survive." After a moment that felt like an eternity, the beast nodded. With a few quick gestures, it activated a sequence on the crystal console. The chamber began to shake, crystals retracting into the walls and floor. "A security measure?" Zara asked as they hurried towards an exit tunnel. The beast's affirmative gesture was accompanied by a grim satisfaction. Its precious research would not fall into the wrong hands. Not yet, at least. As they navigated the twisting tunnels, climbing ever upward towards the surface, Zora's comm unit suddenly crackled to life. "Repeat, Dr. Patel, do you copy? This is Captain Rodriguez. If you can hear us, please respond." "Captain," Zara shouted, relief flooding through her. "Captain, I'm here. I'm alive." "Thank the stars," Rodriguez's voice came through, thick with emotion. "We've been searching for hours. What's your situation? Can you make it to the surface?" Zara glanced at the beast, who nodded encouragingly. "I'm on my way up now, Captain. But I'm not alone. I've made contact. First contact, and it's beyond anything we could have imagined." There was a moment of stunned silence from the other end. "Understood, Doctor," Rodriguez finally replied, her voice steady despite the bombshell Zora had just dropped. "We'll be ready for anything. Just get yourself to the surface safely." As they continued their ascent, Zara filled the beast in on her people, on the ship waiting in orbit, and on the possibilities that lay before them. The beast listened intently, its expressive eyes reflecting a mix of hope and trepidation. They were nearing the surface when a bone-chilling roar echoed through the tunnels. Their pursuer had not given up the chase. "We're almost there," Zora encouraged, even as fatigue threatened to overwhelm her. The beast, sensing her exhaustion, gently scooped her up in two of its arms, increasing their pace. They burst out onto the planet's surface just as the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the barren landscape. In the distance, Zora could see the lights of the landing shuttle and her team's base camp. But behind them, the ground began to tremble. Their nightmarish pursuer was not far behind. "Run," Zora shouted, though the beast needed no encouragement. They raced across the rocky terrain, the beast's powerful limbs eating up the distance with incredible speed. The team at the base camp spotted them, and Zora could see figures rushing to meet them. But would they make it in time? As the sound of pursuit grew louder, Zora made a split-second decision. She wriggled free from the beast's grasp, stumbling as her feet hit the ground. "Go," she shouted, waving the beast on towards the shuttle. "I'll slow it down." The beast hesitated, unwilling to abandon its new ally. But Zara stood her ground, determination etched on her face. With a reluctant nod, The beast continued towards the shuttle. Zara turned to face the oncoming threat, her hand reaching for the emergency flare in her suit's utility belt. As the monstrous creature burst from the ground mere meters away, she ignited the flare, its brilliant light momentarily blinding the light-sensitive beast. It was all the time they needed. A barrage of weapons fire from the security team lit up the twilight, driving the creature back. Strong hands grabbed Zora, pulling her towards the safety of the shuttle. As the shuttle's engines roared to life, Zora caught a final glimpse of Exiled 7's surface. The beast stood at the shuttle's entrance, silhouetted against the alien landscape it had called home for so long. Their eyes met, and in that moment, Zara knew that everything was about to change. For her, for the beast, for both their peoples, and perhaps for the entire galaxy. The shuttle lifted off, leaving behind a world of secrets and dangers. But they were taking with them something far more valuable. A friendship forged in adversity, and the key to unlocking the universe's greatest mysteries. As the shuttle docked with the CSS Horizon, Zara knew that the real challenge was just beginning. How would humanity react to the beast? How would they handle the knowledge it brought? And what dangers might be lurking in the shadows, waiting to take advantage of this newfound alliance? Whatever came next, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again. Journey across the stars. The CSS Horizon hummed with barely contained excitement as it prepared to break orbit around Exiled 7. On the bridge, Captain Elena Rodriguez stood with her arms crossed, her dark eyes fixed on the alien world below. Beside her, Dr. Zora Patil fidgeted nervously, casting frequent glances at the ship's newest passenger. The beast, as the crew had taken to calling it, stood silently at one of the viewports. Its iridescent scales shimmered under the ship's lights, and its 4 eyes reflected the stars with an intensity that spoke of both wonder and longing. "Are you sure about this, Doctor?" Rodriguez asked, her voice low. "We're potentially violating a dozen protocols by bringing an unknown alien species aboard." Zora nodded firmly. "I'm sure, Captain. The beast isn't just some animal. It's a sentient being with knowledge that could revolutionize our understanding of the universe. We can't leave it behind." Rodriguez sighed, then squared her shoulders. "Very well. Let's hope Earth Command sees it the same way. Helm, set course for home. Maximum safe speed." As the horizon leaped into faster-than-light travel, leaving Exiled 7 far behind, Zora approached the beast. "How are you feeling?" she asked softly. The beast turned to her, its expressive eyes conveying a mix of emotions: excitement, fear, and a deep, abiding sadness at leaving the only home it had known for centuries. Zara placed a comforting hand on one of the beast's lower limbs. "I know it's overwhelming," she said, "but I promise we're going to do everything we can to help you, to clear your name and share your knowledge safely." The beast's grateful gesture was interrupted by a sudden lurch of the ship. Alarms blared as the horizon dropped out of FTL, flinging crew members to the floor. "Report," Rodriguez barked, pulling herself up from her command chair. "Unknown energy signature, Captain," the science officer shouted. "It's like nothing we've ever seen before. It just pulled us out of FTL." On the main view screen, a massive shape materialized out of the darkness of space. It was a ship, but unlike any human vessel. Its design was organic, almost alive, with pulsing veins of energy running along its hull. The beast let out a low, mournful sound. Zara didn't need a translator to understand its meaning. "It's them, isn't it?" she asked. "Your people. They found us." Before the beast could respond, the comm system crackled to life. A voice, simultaneously melodious and threatening, filled the bridge. "Attention, human vessel. You are in possession of a dangerous fugitive. Surrender the exiled one immediately, or face the consequences of your defiance." Rodriguez shot a questioning look at Zara and the beast. "Friends of yours?" The beast's response was a complex series of gestures, which Zara's translator struggled to keep up with. "No, she said, her voice tight with worry. Not friends. The ones who exiled it. The ones who fear the knowledge it possesses. Rodriguez's jaw set in a determined line. Well, they're in for a surprise if they think we're just going to hand over our new ally. She turned to her communications officer. Open a channel. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth vessel CSS Horizon, she said, her voice steady and authoritative. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. The being you refer to as the Exiled One is under our protection. We request peaceful dialogue to resolve this situation. There was a moment of tense silence before the alien voice responded. Your protection is misguided, human. The Exiled One possesses knowledge too dangerous to be unleashed upon the galaxy. Stand down and surrender it, or we will be forced to take action. The beast moved forward, its massive form drawing all eyes on the bridge. It began to gesture, its movements so rapid and complex that Zara's translator briefly overloaded. Wait, Zara said, holding up a hand. It wants to speak to them directly. Rodriguez hesitated, then nodded. Do it. The beast stepped up to the comm panel, and for the first time since coming aboard, it vocalized. The sound that emerged was unlike anything the human crew had ever heard, a symphony of tones and harmonics that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of space-time. As the beast communicated with its former people, Zara watched the reactions of the bridge crew. Expressions of awe, fear, and wonder played across their faces. Whatever the beast was saying, it was clear that this was a moment of profound importance. When the beast finished, there was silence. Then, slowly, the alien ship began to power down its weapons. They're standing down, the tactical officer reported, disbelief evident in his voice. The alien voice returned, but this time, it was tinged with something new, respect, and perhaps a hint of shame. We had no idea. All this time, Captain Rodriguez, we request permission to send a delegation aboard your vessel. There is much we need to discuss. Rodriguez looked to Zara and the beast, who both nodded. Permission granted, she said. Let's talk. As the crew prepared for the arrival of their alien visitors, Zara turned to the beast. What did you say to them? She asked, curiosity burning in her eyes. The beast's response was simple yet profound. It gestured to Zara, then to the rest of the human crew, and finally to the stars beyond the viewport. The message was clear. In its time of exile, it had found not just allies, but friends. And together, they had the potential to forge a new path for both their peoples. As the alien delegation materialized on the Horizon's transporter pad, Zara felt a surge of hope. This journey across the stars had begun in fear and misunderstanding, but perhaps it could end in unity and shared knowledge. The beast stood tall, no longer an exile but a bridge between two species, and as human and alien eyes met in that historic moment, the promise of a new era of galactic cooperation hung in the air, as vast and full of potential as the universe itself. But even as hope blossomed, a shadow lurked at the edges of Zara's consciousness. The nightmare creature from Sci-Fi 7, the living crystals with their reality-altering potential, the centuries of lost time and misunderstanding. All of these were pieces of a puzzle that was far from complete. As negotiations began, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a much larger adventure, one that would challenge everything both humans and aliens thought they knew about the universe and their place in it. With a deep breath, she stepped forward to join the dialogue that would shape the future of two civilizations. Whatever came next, she knew one thing for certain. The stars would never look quite the same again. Vindication and a new beginning. The conference room of the CSS Horizon hummed with an energy unlike anything its walls had ever contained. Around the large, circular table sat an unprecedented gathering. Captain Elena Rodriguez and her senior staff, Dr. Zara Patel, the Beast, and a delegation of aliens whose very presence seemed to bend the light around them in strange and beautiful ways. Zara couldn't help but marvel at the scene. Just days ago, She had been a scientist hoping for interesting soil samples. Now she was at the center of what might be the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. The alien leader, who had introduced himself as High Counselor Zix, spoke in a voice that seemed to resonate on multiple frequencies at once. We must confess, our initial approach was misguided. The knowledge that our exiled one has shared with us is both terrifying and exhilarating. Captain Rodriguez leaned forward, her eyes sharp. Perhaps you could elaborate on that knowledge for those of us who aren't up to speed. Zix nodded, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the room's light in mesmerizing patterns. The crystals of Xenox 7 are not mere energy sources. They are conduits to the very fabric of reality. With proper understanding, they could be used to reshape planets, create wormholes, even alter the flow of time itself. A murmur ran through the human contingent. Zara felt a chill run down her spine as she remembered the pulsing energy fields in the caverns below Xenox 7's surface. "That's why you exiled him," Zara said, gesturing to the beast. "You were afraid of this knowledge getting out." Zix's expression shifted in a way that Zara interpreted as shame. "We were short-sighted. We feared change, feared losing control. It was easier to banish one who challenged our understanding than to face the implications of his discoveries." The beast made a series of complex gestures, which Zara's translator struggled to keep up with. "It says that it never intended to use the knowledge recklessly," Zara interpreted. "It wanted to share it, to use it for the betterment of all." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "And now, what are your intentions with this knowledge?" Zix spread his upper limbs in a gesture of openness. "That, Captain, is why we are here. We recognize now that this discovery is too big for any one species to control. We propose a joint initiative, your people and ours, working together to understand and harness this power responsibly." The conference room erupted in excited chatter. Zara looked to the beast, seeing in its eyes a mix of vindication and hope that brought tears to her own. But before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Rodriguez's comm badge chirped urgently. "Captain, to the bridge immediately," came the voice of the tactical officer, panic evident in his tone. As they rushed to the bridge, Zara's mind raced with possibilities. Had the nightmare creature from Xenox 7 somehow followed them? Was this all an elaborate trap by the aliens? The scene that greeted them on the bridge, however, was beyond anything she had imagined. The main view screen showed a tear in the very fabric of space, a swirling vortex of impossible colors and shapes. "It just appeared out of nowhere, Captain," the science officer reported, her voice shaking. "It's unlike any spatial anomaly we've ever encountered." Zix stepped forward, his alien features set in grim determination. "It's begun," he said softly. "The knowledge, unleashed without proper safeguards, is already affecting the fabric of reality." The beast moved to the science station, its claws dancing over the controls with surprising dexterity. Data flowed across the screen, a mix of alien symbols and complex equations. "It's trying to stabilize the rift," Zara realized, watching in awe as the beast worked. For tense minutes, the bridge crew could only watch as the beast battled against forces beyond human comprehension. The rift pulsed and writhed, threatening to engulf the ship at any moment. Then, with a final, decisive gesture, the beast activated a sequence. A beam of concentrated energy shot from the horizon, striking the heart of the anomaly. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the rift began to close. As the last traces of the anomaly faded from the view screen, a collective sigh of relief swept through the bridge. The beast sagged, clearly exhausted from its efforts. Zix turned to Captain Rodriguez, his alien features set in resolve. "You see now the power we are dealing with, and the consequences of its misuse." Rodriguez nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "I think it's clear that neither of our species can handle this alone. Whatever comes next, we need to face it together." The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Messages were sent to Earth Command and to the alien homeworld. Plans were made for an unprecedented summit between the two species, and through it all, Zara found herself at the center, translating not just words but concepts between humans, aliens, and the beast. As the horizon set course for Earth, Zara stood with the beast in the observation lounge, watching the stars streak by. "Are you ready for this?" she asked softly. "Going to Earth, meeting our leaders, becoming an ambassador for your people." The beast's response was a complex series of gestures that Zara had come to understand without need for translation. It spoke of hope, of fear, of the weight of responsibility, and of gratitude for the friend who had believed in it when no one else would. Zara smiled, placing a hand on the beast's arm. "We're in this together," she said. "Whatever comes next, we'll face it as a team." As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Zara felt a sense of anticipation unlike anything she'd ever experienced. The universe had just become a much bigger, more complex place, but it had also become more wondrous, filled with possibilities she had never dared to imagine. The beast, once exiled and alone, now stood as a bridge between two civilizations. The knowledge it carried had the potential to reshape the galaxy, and humanity, in all its resourcefulness and determination, would play a crucial role in ensuring that power was used wisely. As the horizon began its descent towards Earth, Zara knew that this was not an ending, but a beginning. The true adventure, for her, for the beast, for both their peoples, was just beginning. The stars beckoned, filled with mysteries waiting to be unraveled, and together, united in their diversity, they would answer that call. The beast turned its 4 eyes towards the blue marble of Earth, growing larger by the second. In its alien gaze, Zara saw reflected the same emotion that burned in her own heart: hope. Hope for understanding, for cooperation, for a future brighter than either of their species had ever dared to dream. As the ship broke through Earth's atmosphere, heralding a new era of interstellar relations, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again, and neither would they.